Welcome to VGK Today, presented by MGM Rewards, a daily podcast bringing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2023 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Saturday, June 10th, and tonight the VGK are back on the ice at FLA Live Arena for Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final against the Florida Panthers. Will Vegas be able to take a 3-1 series lead back to the Fortress for Game 5? Or will the Panthers successfully defend home ice and tie things up at 2 games apiece? This is a huge swing game here for both sides that can drastically change the course of this series. A big one tonight from Florida. And to help us prepare for tonight's game, we brought in the big guns. We bring in all 4 of the guys from the SLGND podcast. So without further ado, here's Dave Goucher, Shane Hnidy, Dan Duva, and Gary Lawless.
Here we are getting set for Game 4. Let's paint this picture. So we're in, Shane, we did one of these from your suite. A suite's an exaggeration, but you have a couch, so I guess maybe it's a suite. Me, you, Gary, Dan, sitting around this glass table, just shooting the breeze. About as casual as you can get here.
That's a great idea.
I like it.
It's good format.
It's great. All right.
I'm looking out at the ocean. I can see palm trees. There's a man in a Speedo jumping into the pool. Thank God it's not me.
Much better in my view. I'm staring across at Gary.
I'm looking at Dan. Lucky guy.
You guys got caught out in the rain yet? I did yesterday coming back from lunch.
I was out at an outdoor place, but it was covered. Does that make sense? Like they had an awning?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been literally up the creek.
That's where I waited for a while. I was looking at the radar, trying to avoid getting totally drenched. And then I saw a little gap, and I figured I'd make a run for it. So I only got partially wet, not fully soaked.
So we've been here, what, 3 days? Every day's rained. It's thundering right now. As we sit.
It rained about 50
minutes. I've had enough of this crap. So, all right, boys, what do we think? Shane, no particular order. We'll start with you. The Golden Knights in a real good spot, still up 2-1, but one that, they were just over 2 minutes away from going up 3-zip in Game 3.
Yeah, and I said right away, it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy. This is the ultimate prize. It's the hardest trophy to win in hockey. And credit to the Panthers. They stuck around. It's kind of what we saw, in that Dallas series, getting that next goal for the Golden Knights. Fell down 1-0. I thought the first period was not good on both sides. They didn't give up much, but I think the Golden Knights had their legs till about the last 5 minutes. Second period, I thought, was maybe their strongest. They defended well in the third, but they could have extended the lead in the second. They didn't, which Florida kept it close. Bobrovsky was his best game by far in this series. And you go to overtime, anything can happen. They couldn't capitalize the early power play, but it's one of those games you turn the page quickly, right? There's still some positives to take away. There's, as Bruce Cassidy said, we'll make corrections where need to be done and get set for Game 4. You can't dwell on it. You got to move on. And I still think they're the much better team, but the other team's got fight in them, and they're going to do everything they can, and as they have throughout the whole playoffs. But I think this is, as we said, Game 3 was the biggest. Well, now Game 4 is the biggest game.
How'd it look from the radio booth, guys? Yeah.
I said it to Gary, and Gary did ask Mark Stone in the first intermission, how are the ice conditions? It didn't look great. Mark recognized it, but did not use it as an excuse. And then you adjust as the game goes along. And I just wonder, all those little things that come together, just a bounce here, you have to maybe think twice. And like I said, both teams learn how to play through that, and then you have another game coming up in a couple of days. But it just didn't seem quite as sharp, and I wonder, how many different factors play into that. But I thought about the choice that Paul Maurice made in the middle of Game 2 to change goalies, and that Sergei Bobrovsky, who of course has been used so much, like you said, Shane, he looked much better. And 2 days in between games 2 and 3, plus the fact that he only played half a game in Game 2, that those things might have contributed. He was the best player, I thought, in the game.
Giving up goals late, Gary, right? Third time this has happened in the playoffs, and Bruce Cassidy addressed it last night and again on the off day here, too.
Yeah, they've allowed 3 6-on-5 goals so far in the postseason. The first 2, they were able to win those games. This one, it caught them. So clearly it's a problem. It's something you would like to address. You can't. These games are going to be close. They're going to go down to the wire, and the goalie's going to get yanked one way or another. You don't want, every time it happens, you don't want it to be an automatic. They're going to score. So I think they had a chance to clear it against. The puck was on the wall early in that sequence, and Haig was over there. And if they could have got it up and out, that would have been, maybe we're talking about something completely different, because it's right around 2 minutes at that point in time. Florida finally got to the series. That's, to me, if I'm the Panthers, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm going, great, we played hockey and we won a game. Why did we waste 2 games? Why did we waste 2 games with this schoolyard crap? And you're still in the hole. You're still down 2-1. I think when this is all over, said and done, if Vegas wins this series, you'll be able to look at that strategy, if you want to call it that, for the first. You can't give away 2 games in the Stanley Cup Final, and that's, I'm not saying that they would have won those 2 games, but like the difference here is so obvious. They did none of that after the whistle crap, and they managed to win a game. Like, they put their energy into playing hockey. Novel concept.
And I wonder, guys, it was officiated differently than the previous games. There were a lot more minor penalties. I just thought about, the Carrier-Gudas. Carrier's getting one for boarding. Gudas retaliates. In the first 2 games, I don't think either of those penalties are called. So you have no misconducts in the game after a ton of them, the first couple. And the Knights scored 2 power play goals. The Panthers score no power play goals. Knights' penalty kill has been perfect. But, just that rhythm, and I don't know, Shane, what you thought of how it plays out, given that the officials were decidedly different in how they handled that. How did the Panthers react? How did the Golden Knights react to how it was officiated?
Well, and they're trying to set a standard, right? So just like teams go through video and talk about their games, the referees do the same. And they have supervisors, they have meetings, they have reports, they look from game to game. And I'm guessing they have strategy too coming in, and it's different ones. So you're going to get a different feel depending on the set of referees that are calling that game. And you look at a lot of them. No, I thought they were all penalties, maybe except for the one late in the third.
Holy smokes.
The one that led to the power play and overtime. It's tough to tell in real time. We have the luxury. From the angle where he called it, Stevenson cuts the middle. It looks like there's a stick there, but he kind of catches an edge.
Right, because they got it. At first they called Barkov, right?
Yes.
But Barkov made no contact. But wherever they look at trying to figure out who the right guy is, they realize it's Forsling, but it was just skate on skate, and very close to not being a penalty. So,
but that said, you know what? The Golden Knights, you mentioned it. Their penalty kill's been great. Their power play is. It's been red hot for them. Like, this is a power play that struggled a year right now, and I think it's important to feel confidence when they go over the boards now. They feel like they can score rather than just going over and hoping they can score. So I think that's beneficial for them. But the referees can't be the difference. You got to let them call the game as is. Golden Knights got to play their game. If they play their game, I strongly believe the end of this thing, they'll be where they deserve to be.
Almost half the goals they scored in the series, right, have come on the power play. 6 out of 14.
Yeah, it's 6, and the only other team to score 2 power play goals in each of the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup Final, the 1980 New York Islanders, and they went on to win that one.
And 3 more after that.
Yeah,
Nystrom in overtime. From Zanelli, right? Yeah, they had a good run. It started 4 in a row for them, right?
Weird to think that the Golden Knights squandered a good special teams game, because they haven't had very many good special team games all season, and last night perfect on the kill and real good on the power play. The question I asked Bruce this morning was, you got to your game, and I said Game 5 versus Winnipeg, Game 6 versus Edmonton, and Game 6 versus Dallas. He said 5 and 6 versus Edmonton, in his opinion. And Game 6 versus Dallas was the best of them.
Oh, that was the benchmark.
Yeah, and I said, are you building towards that? And, he said, we hope so. And
find out.
But he thought they were pretty good. Good start last night, but then a really good second period, and then just couldn't extend the lead in the third. And so he thought that that was a good game. But it's been fun to watch his strategy unfold in the playoffs here. He said today, we are looking at no video today. We're going to have a meeting. And I think he's going to set the tone. He said it'll be like a 30,000-foot view of. So he's going to remind them of where they are and what's at stake.
And that's so important to reinforce the situation. That, the guys know what they need to do. They're going to go over. There's going to be a couple things to look at that maybe they can try and expose the Panthers on. But more than anything, it's just a reminder, because there's physical and mental fatigue right now. Carlson and Kolesar were asked a question in the scrum. What time do you guys go to bed? I think Kolesar said 4. Yeah. Carlson 3:30. Like, late start game here. So they've got, today's basically just a reset day, both mentally and physically, for these guys. That's the main purpose of this day between games for players. And it's important for them to get together, have a few laughs, make sure they take care of themselves, refuel, and get set. And then tomorrow's a work day. So it's quick talk to them about the importance, where we're at, and then it's okay, let's get away from the game, have a little fun, rest, relax, and then tomorrow they'll go and morning skate, video, whatever needs to happen to make sure you're 100% at whatever. When's puck drop again? 8:25?
Midnight. We had Bruce on, Shane, but we did our stream before the final at Media Day, and we asked him about you were down this road with the Bruins in 2019, and what do you take from that experience? And one of the things he said was the need for the players to completely unplug on days between games. He basically said, if you got to get treatment on injuries, come in, get treatment, and go home. And I think about a day as we sit here today between games 3 and 4, right? Not just refresh, refuel, to use your word.
And it's different on the road, right? At home, you're getting home at the game's there at 5, so it's a different thing. You can get to bed at a decent hour, so it's a little different on the road. And I think it's beneficial to the Golden Knights in a sense that they've just got each other. That's all they've got to look after. Yeah. There's no family. There's no, not that I'm saying is a distraction. I'm just saying you're a little busier with people around. Whereas here, you're on the road. They're together. It's so important to have that. That's their only focus is on making sure they're ready. That's the only thing they need to worry about right now, and to have a little fun with it. So I think their game's going to build in Game 4. I really think this group, if we've talked about the veteran group they are to recognize situations, this is one they need to recognize.
They're almost perfect when they score 3, right?
Yeah, and they just came up short the last time that they lost when scored
crossbar
3 goals. Yeah, right, yeah. It was way back in 2019. We remember that one. But Gary, you said it in the midst of the series against Dallas. Adversity is a great thing when you get through it. And, it's the first time they've lost a Game 3. You're in the playoffs. They are still ahead in the series. But then you think about having encountered that pushback. It was back and forth with Edmonton the first couple of games in that series. Having a 3-0 series lead, but losing 2 against Dallas. Like you said, Shane, seems to me that this group is as prepared as you might hope for. At the same time, Florida Panthers, they were down 3-1 against the Boston Bruins. They faced adversity in this postseason as well, though it was the first round as compared to more recent games.
Only 2 in a row they've lost. The only time they lost 2 in a row in the playoffs, right? The Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Up 3-0 on Dallas, and then knock on any word you can find as I punch myself in the coconut.
Harder, please.
Harder, thank you. I can hear you sitting right here.
You think that when they do start to talk tomorrow about hockey, that they start talking about that level of execution that they had in Game 6 versus Dallas. Like Florida has made it a series. It's 2-1. So Florida has said to Vegas, we can beat you. So now it's up to the Golden. Well, they beat them.
That's their best.
Okay, so that might be...
And they needed everything to go perfect.
I think you might be right, but the Golden Knights, they need to remove any worry and go to that next level.
They need to go to that next level.
I've got a column half written. When we're done here, I'm going to go finish, and it is all about... At the end of the series, they don't care how, they just care about how many, right? Okay? But in a series, you have to talk. It's instructive to talk about how we're playing and where we're at. And Vegas is not. We talked about this last night. They haven't come close to that Game 6 execution yet in this series. If they get to that level, then they're going to win the Stanley Cup. But I think they need to get to that level.
It's amazing the range of emotion last night. You know, in that intermission between the third period and the overtime, Shane and I are kind of like, all right. I said to him, Marchessault's going to score. It's just what he does. And he says, well, Eichel will probably score. So you're thinking, you're like, they're going to go up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. And then Florida kills it. Next thing you know, it's in Vegas' net. What the hell's going on?
And that's the reality.
The place is going nuts, and it's just
it's not easy.
It's what makes it, but it's what makes it great, right? I mean, we obviously don't like that ending for Vegas, but the swings in emotion in these games, it's awesome.
Crazy.
It's like when the team went to Dallas. They went to Dallas up 2-0, won game 3, but lost game 4. So the flight home was kind of, and one of the players said to me on the tarmac, "Wow, if we had lost game 3 but won game 4, we'd be coming home with the opportunity to finish the series. We'd all be happy, right?" Yeah. They get that split, and I don't want to go too far down that road, but their job was to come here and get a split. They didn't win the first one. If they get the split and they're going home, game 5 on Tuesday, the Hockey Hall of Fame is going to have the Stanley Cup in the building.
I'd like a cheery flight, so let's. Yeah. and that's you know what? It's funny. You look to win every game, but it's a good point. You take care of business at home. They open at home too, and then your kind of mindset is, all right, we need a split on the road. All right, so they've lost one. Now they've got to take care of business and get that split on the road and go back and control.
First thing I thought of last night when they lost was they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup potentially at home. Depending on how it goes in game 4. And I said to Shane, can you imagine that building?
Oh, yeah.
If they have a chance to win it.
Yeah. Well, we were walking out of T-Mobile Arena after game 2, and people were kind of like, geez, this could have been the last home game at T-Mobile Arena this year. And if it is, that's great. Right. But it wouldn't be the worst thing. And obviously, the team, as you said, they're trying to win every single game. But I'd imagine there are some people who expected that the series might go back to Las Vegas, and who knows, it could be back at a 2-2 tie. That's the excitement of it.
That goes back to the great quote we got from Bruce J. Woodcroft in the Edmonton series before Game 6, before Game 5, was saying, all the pressure's on Vegas, and Bruce Cassidy's response was, well, we're going back to Vegas to play a hockey game no matter what, and it would either be the Game 6 or it was Game 4. It was before Game 4 going back for Game 5. It was either going to be, we're going to have a party and we're going to move on to the next series, or we're going to play you guys again, but we're going home for a game. And the Golden Knights know that as well. They are going home for another hockey.
And that pressure comment, I always get a kick out. There's pressure on both teams, regardless of the series. There's pressure, right? There's pressure for Florida.
You have pressure every day as a professional hockey player, Shane?
Yes, you do. I have pressure in what I do now. Just working with you guys.
This ain't easy. This is big. This has gone moderately decent for 4 guys sitting around a table.
Let's put a bow on it.
Shooting the breeze, and it didn't rain. We stopped the rain. Who sings that, Shane? Who'll stop the rain? Shane, you know that. Come on. CCR. Good guess by you. That's it for us. Thanks for your time this time. Until next time.
Well, thanks a bunch to all those guys for hopping on today's episode of VGK Today to help prepare us for Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. Of course, a massive one for the Vegas Golden Knights, and one in which they don't want to give up and let Florida truly back into this series with a 2-2 series tie. VGK would be much more comfortable, to say the least, going back home to Las Vegas to the Fortress for Game 5 with a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Of course, lots of fun to be had from Florida tonight, but for all of us back here in Las Vegas, you're not left out completely. The official watch party for Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final here in Vegas will take place at the Las Vegas Ballpark. The watch party will start at 5 p.m. Pacific time, right when the puck drops for Game 4 between the Golden Knights and the Panthers. And admission is $5 per person, plus fees, but a portion of that is going to benefit the Vegas Golden Knights Foundation. Now, all the seating for the watch party will be general admission, so the seats around the ballpark, but you're also invited to come onto the outfield grass and bring your towels, your blankets, your pillows, get nice and comfy out there and watch Game 4 between the Knights and the Panthers. You can also look forward to a couple of giveaways at the watch party this afternoon, as a pair of tickets to Game 5 will be given away, as well as an item from VGK Authentics. So be sure to head over to VegasGoldenKnights.com, check out all the information for tonight's watch party at Las Vegas Ballpark, and we hope you make it out to the ballpark for a fun night ahead between the Golden Knights and the Panthers. That'll do it for today's episode of VGK Today. Before we go, I'll remind you, as always, to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a moment of the team's quest for the Stanley Cup right here on VGK Today. Tomorrow, we're back with a recap of Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Golden Knights and the Panthers. Justin Russo signing off for episode 55 of VGK Today, presented by MGM Rewards.